Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Tonight I'm watching episode number 8 from season 4 of Outlander. And in episode number 7, we saw Brianna show up in Scotland. And she's trying to make her way through the countryside to get to a port where she can then head over to America. So that she can meet up with Jamie and Claire and warn them of their future demise. Warn them of the fire that is reported in that paper that she read, or the obituary, I guess it was. And of course, Roger is following close behind her because he is chasing the love of his life, seemingly. And he wants to catch up with her and I guess express his love to her and try to get her to marry him. That's what I'm assuming. So he got all dressed up in era-appropriate clothing and headed back through the stones, chasing after Brianna. And when he got there, of course, he also was in Scotland, but he needs to find his way over to America because that's where Brianna is headed. Of course, he didn't realize that Brianna was still in Scotland while he was there, and he went and found a ship that was headed there, and unfortunately, it was captained by, I can't think of his name now. No, I can't. I've lost his name. I had it on the tip of my tongue, and now I've lost his name. Bonnet, Stephen Bonnet. It was captained by Stephen Bonnet, who, as we already know, is not a very good guy. In fact, he's quite the opposite of a good guy. So Roger is headed over on the boat to America. And like I said, I believe Brianna was still in Scotland at the time because she had met up with, of all people, Leary. Of course, Leary didn't know who Brianna was, and Brianna had no idea who Leary was. So they kind of befriended each other, and Leary was taking care of her up until the point where Leary mentioned Lollybrock. And then, of course, that was something that Brianna knows about because she's a Fraser. And she mentioned that. And then it came out that she is Jamie and Claire's child. So that just set Leary off. And we all know how Leary is. So she locked her in her bedroom and was going to call the authorities to claim she was a witch, to have her killed, I guess out of spite for what Claire had done, coming back and stealing her man, as she put it. When in fact, if I'm remembering correctly, Jamie wasn't even living with her and hadn't lived with her for a year or 18 months, if I'm remembering right, something along those lines. And it was pretty much a loveless marriage, a marriage of convenience. And I believe Jamie probably only married her because of her daughters. So, bad situation, but Leary's youngest daughter breaks Brianna out, gets her to safety, gets her to Lollybrock, where she then gets the money where she can get a ship and passage to America. And that's the way the episode ends, with her actually taking on a servant. And I don't remember the servant's name. I don't remember her name. But she takes on this servant to save her from this marriage to an older man. Didn't sound like a very good guy that she was kind of betrothed to, or she was going to be sold to, whatever the case was. So Brianna basically is rescuing her and taking her to America, where she's going to be away from her family, away from her father, of course, but it's better that than the alternative. So that's how the episode ends, with Brianna and her servant headed toward the ship and their life in America. So I expect that this episode we're going to see Brianna make landfall in America and some adventures go from there. And I'm really looking forward to seeing just exactly how this is going to play out. And I would expect Roger to show up as well. Now, if you're interested in watching my full-length reactions, you can head over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/31mike. Now let's go ahead and jump into the episode and see what's going to happen with Brianna and Roger. Yeah, that sounds like, I think I mentioned in another video that sounds like a mandolin playing in the background. I think that's what it is, a mandolin. I think I've also mentioned before, Wilmington isn't very far from me, maybe 2 or 3 hours south. I had family. They've passed away since, but they lived in Wilmington. Well, Roger's there. He's using that sketch like almost like a mugshot. Well, I guess he couldn't really show a photograph around there, could he? Well, he's showing this around asking for her, but at this point, she may not have even arrived yet.
She recently arrived on the Philip Alonso. I've made inquiries, but no one's seen her.
Oh, so he knows she has arrived.
I haven't either. You completed your inventory?
Yes, sir. We'll need 12 more composing sticks come Thursday.
Well, he could ask Fergus.
Have you seen this lady?
Well,
I'm sorry, I haven't.
well, he's a person to talk to, but he has no way of knowing that, and Fergus has no way of knowing him. Or Brianna.
Lady, my lord, I'm so glad you could come for a visit. Is Ian not with you?
He'll be along.
Oh, wow, they're right there.
To fetch casks for our whiskey.
So Roger could
The
bump
governor
into
has
Claire.
invited us to join him and his wife at the theatre.
Summoned us to join him.
You came all this way for a play.
No, we came all this way to see you.
And Germain.
Shall I put him down? Something the matter?
No. It's only.
She misses her mother.
Where's your mum being so precious? I look at him and I ken I'd have a knife through my gut before seeing him hurt or in sorrow. If anything should ever happen to him.
That's the hardest thing about being a parent, I'm sure. Although you know you would die trying. You can't protect them from everyone and everything.
Well, Roger knows that Brianna's there to see Claire and Jamie, so why doesn't he ask around for the Frasers? Don't do that.
Do you know where I might be able to buy passage to Cross Creek?
Or he could
I'd like
bump
to leave
into
tomorrow.
Brianna.
Sally Ann's in port.
Yep, he could bump into her instead of Claire.
Oh, thank God.
Wait a minute, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
For you. At no small risk to life and limb, I might add.
You weren't supposed to come here. That wasn't the plan. I would have told you. I didn't know where we stood after the last time we talked.
What do you mean you didn't know where we stood? Let's go outside.
Yeah, a little more privacy.
Roger, wait. How did you even know where I was?
I spoke to Gail. She told me you're going to visit your mum. So I
Yeah,
went to find you in Inverness.
so Roger looks angry.
But I didn't know how to tell you.
She's
that
gonna
I loved
misread
you.
this.
And I thought that if I told you I was coming here, you'd try to stop me.
Did you just say you love me? Come with me.
Nope, now he's dragging her away. Yeah, you see that look on her face. Is that Myrta's forge?
Are you sure?
You do not know how badly I want you.
But We're not engaged. Have you changed your mind?
No.
Well then, you have all of me.
You'll marry me.
How could I say no to a man who pursued me for 200 years?
Well, she's got a point.
I don't have a ring.
I still have the bracelet you gave me.
I have an idea. Do you know what handfasting is? It's sort of a temporary marriage. In the Highlands, where folk are a long way from the nearest minister, a man and a woman in this time can be promised to one another for a year and a day. At the end of that time...
Let's do it.
Please, you can join us, Mr. and Mistress Fraser. This play is said to be quite exceptional. Mr. Fanning. May I present Mr. James Fraser, of Fraser's Ridge, Mr. Edmund Fanning, a dear friend and colleague.
A pleasure, sir. My wife, Claire Fraser. The regulators.
Do not dignify those insurgents with that name. I would be ashamed to declare anyone save the Lord above a regulator of all things.
Are you in pain, Mr. Fanning?
Oh, I'm afraid I injured myself standing against the mob which assembled in Hillsborough last May. I have a strange protrusion. The least movement now sends me into paroxysms of pain. My physician assures me it will go away in time.
Not if it is what I think it might.
It sounds like a hernia.
If I were to examine it, I could know for sure.
My wife is a healer, Mr. Fanning.
Yeah, they're not going to go for
Let
that.
us defer to Mr. Fanning's physician, shall we?
Of course, she's a
If the pain
surgeon.
gets worse, you may need to see a surgeon.
Mr. Fraser, allow me to introduce you to some of my acquaintances.
They're not gonna take
My
her word
wife
for it.
will present Mistress Fraser to the wives.
The Society of the Wives. Indeed. But fear not, I will help you navigate these waters. There. You've heard of the face that launched 1,000 ships. Well, here's a lady who could fill as many with tobacco if she so chose. Wit and wealth aplenty. Her husband seems to have captured the attention of the crowd as well. That's Colonel Washington.
Colonel Washington.
Colonel George Washington.
Oh,
He's a former soldier with the Virginia Regiment.
so it's George and Martha.
I should love to meet them both.
Now, that would be interesting. Get to meet George Washington.
Mr. and Mistress Fraser recently settled their own estate. 10,000 acres in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Parcel that Mr. Washington surveyed for me last year.
Yes, I remember. A magnificent stretch of wilderness.
Aye. Good land. Mr. Fraser is a loyal man. Former soldier, you know.
Oh. Were you with us against the French?
No. But I've heard tales of your husband's exploits in those wars.
He was what George Washington's
46.
going to become.
I do not recall that battle. I spent my youth in Virginia.
Chopping down cherry trees.
Hmm.
Is what a young boy would do. Figure of speech.
Yeah, she's using her knowledge of the future there accidentally.
Play will soon begin.
He will be perhaps the most famous American to ever live.
What does he do to gain such notoriety?
He's the man who wins the war against the British. And he'll be the first leader of this country. But he won't be a king. He'll be called a president. Elected by the people. If Brianna were here, she'd have 100 questions to ask him.
She is there, though.
I, Roger Jeremiah, do take thee, Brianna Ellen, through my lawful wedded wife. With my goods I thee endow, with my body I thee worship, in sickness and in health, in richness and in poverty, so long as we both shall live. I plight thee my troth.
I, Brianna Ellen, take thee, Roger Jeremiah, to be my lawful wedded husband. With my sickness and in health, in richness and in poverty, so long as we both shall live. Plight I, plight thee, my troth.
By the power vested in this unusual Scottish tradition,
I now pronounce us.
I would think they would need witnesses for that.
Has my mistress returned?
No, still off with that man.
The man of wanton morals.
Well, they could have gone back and gotten her. She could have been their witness.
The regulators mean to deprive me of my home. I refuse to see their taxes portioned for the construction of my palace. Well, let's hope my men put on a good show tonight. Sorry?
What has this to do with your men?
Insurgents? I have a spy in their camp.
Oh,
They mean to
Jamie's
rob
getting
with
some info
courage,
here.
Carrying tax monies to the treasury at Newburn. Tonight,
Oh.
vis-a-vis Wilmington. They're here, gentlemen. My redcoats are going to arrest them.
Do you ken who these men are?
Oh, yes. And they have a leader among them, Murder Fitzgibbons.
Oh.
If you'd like, I could ride out and join your men. Appreciate your offer.
Yeah, he needs to find a way to get out of there. Try to get word to Murta. How does he get out of here to do that, though? Yeah, Jamie needs to find a way to get out there.
I'm gonna find out for myself. And what's that name? My splendid robe. Say, do you, son?
Yeah, you can see that look on his face. He's trying to figure out a way to get up out of there. Well, it's not too late yet.
What dares he? Bonnet dares not. Blush, not noble prince.
Have pity.
I'd laugh.
Jamie's not looking too comfortable there.
Brother,
Well, he's not looking too comfortable either.
and he's the bane. What's the difference?
Yeah. Well, I think he's found his exit.
There a sergeant present?
Here,
Well, my wife is a sergeant, Your Excellency.
She was a healer. I mean, herbs and potions are one thing, but this...
bring him into the lobby. Lay him flat on his back. Now, please. Now, now.
Sorry.
I'll buy you as much time as I can. But be careful.
Yeah, I'm sure warning the robbers could be a hanging offense as well.
I need to operate immediately. You, go behind the stage and find me a needle and thread. And you, sir, go next door and fetch me a small sharp knife, some liquor, and some linens. Lots of linen.
Oh, for God's sakes, find us a surgeon.
I am a surgeon, Your Excellency, and I cannot wait. Now, if you'll be so kind as to assist me.
Take this somewhere.
Private, we'll have them carried to the inn.
If I don't act,
He'll die.
this man will die. Mr. Fanning, I need you to take a long drink and hope that it knocks you unconscious.
Yeah, surgery back then wouldn't be a pleasant thing to undergo.
You're leaving?
We are indeed. What a lugubrious performance.
You're leaving as well?
Yeah.
I must fetch my wife's surgical tools from our residence.
Good excuse.
Do we offer you transport?
Well, that's helpful.
Here you are, mistress. I brought you this as
And
well.
it's cool that it's
Thank
George
you.
Washington.
Put them down. No, we don't need more rum.
What are you doing?
I'm cleaning the area. I'm going to make an incision. I need
I
four
guess
men
they've
to
never
hold down his arms
seen
and legs
surgery before.
and keep him still while I work. The rum can only do so much. He's likely to come in and out of consciousness with pain. I can't do this without your help.
I'll borrow a horse onwards from here. Thank you for aiding a fellow soldier.
Is there a war I'm not aware of?
Yeah. Well, let's see. This is 1768, 1769. Yep, I knew he'd wake up as soon as she started cutting.
Now, if you lie still, Fanny, when all this is over, I'll dip my hands into the treasury and have a house built for you. The finest brick exterior you've ever laid your eyes upon. Impenetrable.
He, you won't remember what I said, will he?
Make way. Let me through.
About the house.
What hath hell wrought?
I've just begun to close the opening.
You've butchered him, madam. All he needed was tobacco smoke up through the rear.
No need of you. The lady has it in hand.
Something unheard of at that time. A woman surgeon. Yeah, that's all brand new to him.
Finished, madam?
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll see him home.
Believe you may have saved his life.
Yeah, she did.
See now why your husband claims he cannot live without you in the wilderness.
Oh, he's there.
You certainly left that to the last moment.
He didn't seem to notice.
Did you manage to reach him out in time?
It's me, Fergus.
Oh, Fergus. He got Fergus to go.
Gets to have your rest.
Getting a bit lost.
Fergus. Is that you? The Lord sent me to warn you.
Oh, Fergus hadn't seen him yet.
Had a couple of drinks in.
You must be on your way. It's not wise to linger on these roads at night.
Well, that saved him.
Appreciate it. Come on, come on. Up here. Have a good.
Now, who's the spy? They have to find out who the spy is. And is the spy there with them and knows of Fergus now?
Have a spy in your camp. I suppose I must. My godson couldn't be troubled to come here and tell me himself. The theatre. Just as well.
Yeah, with Tryon.
The man I'd rather see.
Yeah, he hadn't seen each other, or they hadn't seen each other yet. Roger met him.
I was tempted to do. Who? The printer. There's much today.
How did you know? I just told you about the obituary today. How could you have known about the smudge date or who the printer was? Unless
He already knew. He wasn't supposed to let on.
you knew. After I left.
Before.
And you didn't tell me?
I almost did.
You found out my mother died, and you didn't think that I should know that?
At first I did. I wanted to tell you. You knew she was dead. She's been dead for 200 years. What could you
She's
do?
not now.
This! Roger, I could do this! You didn't want me to. I would never have done that to you, Roger. How dare you take that choice away from me?
I didn't want to break your heart.
No, you wanted me to be happy so I'd marry you.
Yes! Pardon me for wanting you to be my wife.
Maybe you should.
Not really a conversation you want
Is
on
that
your
what you
wedding
want?
night.
For me to leave and return through the stones.
Turns out Lizzie and I do pretty well on our own.
Brianna,
Lizzie, that's her name.
you told me about your last words to your father. And how you've never forgiven yourself for leaving him like that.
Don't you dare bring my father into
It's
this.
the same thing, can't you see that? Right when it matters, you're pushing me away.
Oh, you!
Maybe this was a mistake.
Fine. If you really believe that, then you should go.
Look me in the eye and tell me. Because if that's what you really want, I will go.
No one's stopping you.
She didn't say go. That's not the way you want your wedding night to end.
The insurgents must have received word of my plan.
Someone alerted them.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Told both of you about it, as well as Fanning and Colonel Washington, but we're all in my company.
Colonel Washington left, though.
I saw him leave the plane. Who? Colonel Washington, Your Excellency. I saw him and his wife putting on their coats as I ran to fetch the surgeon.
Yeah, that puts suspicion on
the two of them.
Washington.
Yes. The two of them together.
Never trust a Virginian.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm a Virginian, even though it says Maryland.
How about something with a little more earthly value, then? You'll need a lot of luck to pull this one off, Bonnet.
Yes, I will. Blow on it, will you, darling?
Oh, that's Claire's ring.
Perhaps you'll change my luck.
And of course, she knows that ring very well.
Where did you get this?
Why'd you ask?
It looks like one my mother had.
Was it now? But if you'd like to return it to her, perhaps an agreement could be reached. Fault.
You'll sell it to me?
Come now.
She
Never
doesn't
had
want to
any
mess around with this guy.
This
That's
lad
not
will
the
run my
agreement he
tricks.
wants.
How much money do you want for it?
Have enough money. Or perhaps you could earn it.
She needs to get up out of there.
I think you've mistaken me.
No!
Forgot something, didn't you? I pay for my pleasures. I'm an honest man for a pirate.
Tuh, an honest man.
If you find your mother, give him my regards.
That's probably the only thing about this series I don't like. The sexual violence. Wow, that was a brutal end to this episode. Kind of makes me think back to that first season with Jamie and Blackjack Randall. And like I say, that's probably the only thing that I don't really like about the series. And that's, like I just said, the sexual violence, the rape. To see it portrayed this way against characters in a show that you like, that you identify with, it just makes it that much more brutal. And at least it wasn't as graphic as it was in the first season with Jamie and Blackjack Randall. But even still, that's, like I say, one of the only things I dislike about the series. But let's move on to some of the things from this episode that I did like. I really liked that they brought George Washington into the series. I don't know if he's ever going to show up again, but it was interesting to see him show up here at this theater, and Jamie and Claire get to meet him. And of course, Claire knows who he is, knows who he was, knows what he was to the nation, to the future nation. So very interesting to see that interaction. And then George Washington helped Jamie get word, unknowingly, helped him get word to Myrta that they were on to the scheme and they were going to be arrested. So interesting turn of events there. Now with Roger and Brianna getting married, or handfast, I guess they called it. I wonder how legal that is, how legally binding that is. There were no witnesses. But now what's Roger going to do? She basically told him to get lost without saying it, and he did. And if she had just told him to stay, this ending of this episode wouldn't have happened to her. Of course, I'm not saying it was her fault. I'm just saying, if Roger had swallowed a little bit of his pride, asked for her forgiveness, and said he was sorry, that wouldn't have happened. But I know this is just an episode, and it was probably in the book. I haven't read this book yet or listened. I listened to the audiobooks. I haven't listened to this book yet, but I'm sure it's probably in the book. But like I say, it was just a brutal ending to what up to this point, or up to that point, had been a really fun and good episode. And it still was a very fun and good episode. Just had a very brutal ending to the episode. So that was episode number 8 from season 4. And I think I'll go ahead and watch episode number 9 right now and see where the story is going to go from here. Let me know down in the comments what I've spoken about here. What are your thoughts on that as far as the violence, the sexual violence that is in some of these episodes? How do you feel about that? Do you think it's a little excessive? Do you think they could kind of downplay that a little bit more? Or do you think it's appropriate? Do you think it's just the right amount? If there ever is a right amount. What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments. I understand they do it for dramatic reasons, but just me personally, it makes it hard to watch some of these episodes. If you go back and watch my episode, or rather season 1 reactions to some of those episodes, I probably said the same thing, that it's difficult to watch. So let me know your feelings. Let me know your thoughts about that. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That will really help my channel to grow. It's growing, but it would help the channel to grow even more. And if you're not already a subscriber, please go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on episode 9.